You know, the other day I was asking my wife, why did you marry me? And she said to me, well, you look like a great project. You know, it's amazing. 18 years. Apparently I'm making good progress because even while I sleep, I'm able to recite that what is yours, and what is mine is yours. And it's amazing how we've evolved. And speaking of evolution, I believe that we're at a point in history where human beings will have superhuman capabilities, including the ability to know when your wife is mad and actually know why she's mad, right? The concept of transhumanism indicates that we as a species will eventually evolve into new beings, perhaps humanoids, or something that we have yet to imagine. Now, some of you who have grown up in the 1970s maybe remember a show by the name of the $1 Million Man. Let's take a look.
We have separation. Inboard and outboard, Tron. Coming forward with the side stick. I've got a blowout. Neighbor 3. Pitch to 0. Pitches out. Direction out. So I'm trying to select this emergency. Pulling down the key up and she's breaking up. She's breaking.
Steve Austin, astronaut. A man barely alive. Gentlemen, we can rebuild him. We have the technology. We have the capability to make the world's first bionic man. Steve Austin will be that man. Better than he was before. Better. Stronger. Faster.
Did you see him running? That wasn't actually superhuman speed. He was actually running from his mother-in-law, apparently. Transhumanism is a theory and an intellectual movement that indicates that the human race will evolve beyond our human limitations, whether that's physical or mental, especially with the use of science and technology. Now, I don't know about you, but it's both scary but exciting at the same time. And one of the things that we have to think about is when we talk about technology, especially at a conference like this, we also have to think about the ethics and the value system, how that's going to change us and our principles as humans. Perhaps one of the ways that we would agree that there's change happening right now is in the area of sight. So most of you will probably agree with me that AR, VR, and mixed reality is starting to supercharge our vision. So, such as in the case of Magic Leap that you see here, where it actually tricks your senses into believing that there is a real object in front of you, when in fact it's completely artificial. Speaking of AR, raise your hand if you play Pokemon Go. Alright, watch out for these people, because you need to take out life insurance on them. Do you know what the biggest risk of playing Pokemon Go is? It's walking into a telephone pole. Because apparently, I don't know if you've seen this, but kids and adults, including yourselves, are playing on the street looking for Pokemon characters. As a matter of fact, yesterday, I saw hundreds of people wandering this conference, just wandering. Actually, I think they were just lost. Recently, Samsung and Apple and others have developed 3D holographic technologies. Now, these are using lasers and micro lens and sensors to be able to project 3D interactive holographic display onto mobile devices. Pretty amazing. Pretty soon what that means is poop emoji will look and smell real. Japanese researchers have developed this touchable holograms called fairy lights. And it's made using femtosecond lasers, or a type of lasers that create incredible frequency of pulse. Basically what it does, it excites physical particles to emit light in 3D form. And the frequency is so great that it ranges from 1,000 to 200,000 pulses per second to create these holographic, touchable images. And what's amazing is that apparently Disney fairies will replace Tinkerbell with these fairy lights. Because apparently they talk a lot less and ask for less pay. Now, on a more practical level, Ocumetrics is working on a very advanced cataract surgery technique that's able to give patients 3 times better sight than 20/20 vision. Coined the bionic lens, it has the ability to be able to take this miniature customized lens, implant it into your eye in about just 8 minutes. So if you haven't had your LASIK surgery, there's another option for you. Let's move on to touch. Myo gesture control band, Leap Magic, ring-based technologies. We're starting to see numerous implementations within the gesture and touch category. And these technologies are varying from everything from gesture-based controllers, wire gloves, depth-aware stereos, and radars that's able to detect gestures and movements. Cambridge Bioaugmentation. When I spoke in London about a month ago, I had a chance to meet these guys, and they're working on something entirely different in terms of touch. They have developed a universal adapter for prosthetics that can work with any input or output connectors. And the reason that's important is in prosthetics, apparently a lot of these prosthetics have different connections, and if it doesn't connect properly, it just doesn't work. So the replacement cost is incredibly high. Now, what makes their science so exciting is that they can actually take signals from the brain, from the muscle, from the bone, and signal process and translate that out to the prosthetic so that it's externalized. So I had a chance to speak with the founder afterwards, and I asked the question, in the future, do you foresee the possibility of being able to use your technology to be able to help perfectly able persons like myself, where we can actually be equipped with such sensor capabilities to be able to orchestrate and control cranes and large construction machinery, all remotely, but with the finesse and fine motor control as if we were touching it right there. The future of connecting biology to technology is becoming a reality. Let's talk about biomaterials. Japanese Harvard researchers have developed this tissue-engineered soft robotic stingray that is activated based on light. And its skeleton is made of gold. And it's designed to be flexible so that it mimics the movement of a stingray. For its muscle, it actually took a rat's cardiac muscle to give it that movement, because apparently mice were at a premium. And in lieu of a nervous system, this artificial stingray responds to light and moves. It's incredible. And what's really interesting is that we're at a point where biomaterials, genetics, and even animals can be created inside of lab environments. So that means that because of the advancement in bionic and organic materials and new prosthetic limbs, when somebody gets into a major accident, they're in a position, very unique position, to be able to be augmented with artificial components that combines with their body human components to rebuild themselves into something of a quasi-human robotic being. This is Les Paul. And Les Paul lost both of his arms several decades ago to an electrical accident. And he became the first bilateral shoulder-level amputee to be fitted and be able to simultaneously control artificial limbs, thanks to researchers at Johns Hopkins. Let's take a look at his story.
You got the picture in mind of how you want everything to be, so it takes a while to achieve that.
It's okay.
And when it don't move quite right, you just start pushing yourself. You want it so bad. The edge is still out of reach.
There it is. Beautiful.
If they only knew what was in this bottle.
It's really amazing to see him. If he had a chance to use these more often, he would be unstoppable. These arms aren't available for him to take home. There's still a lot of clinical research that would need to get done, plus commercialization at the very least. It's a multi-year process. It's kind of sci-fi and cool to think of a cyborg in another context, but in the context of each individual patient, the limbs should become part of them, not them becoming part of the machine.
Not so much robotics, you're basically more back to human, being a whole person, instead of having a piece of us. You know, and not have to ask somebody, hey, you know, can you grab this for me? Can you put this in my cart? I can't get it off the shelf. It's having something else other than my mouth to do that with. Having a limb again.
Did you notice his comments about how these artificial limbs actually make him feel more human? That's a very interesting perspective, isn't it? Because of the time limitation, I can't go into every possible examples of the five senses, or cognition, or physical transformation, or emotion sensing. But what I can assure you is that there is active research and commercialization that's happening on all these fronts. Now, for the remainder of this presentation, I want to talk about the profoundness of what we're talking about here in terms of the topic of transhumanism. Perhaps, in terms of self-quantification, one of the most obvious benefits of wearables, medtech, is our health. Our ability to be able to prevent diseases, become more self-aware of our habits and lifestyles, and ultimately be able to live longer, healthier, happier lives. But there is another dimension to self-awareness that has to do with not our physical realm, but our internal selves in here. Most of you are probably familiar with Alexa and Watson IoT and Cortana and Siri. Those fall under a category called cognitive science or cognitive AI. Aside from that area, there is another field of research that we are looking into, we're actively creating technologies around that deals with AI that understands you as human beings. It empathizes with you. It supports your needs. And ultimately, it becomes your friend. Because what it's doing is transforming you, not from outside in, but inside out. So that you can become self-actualized. Become the very best person that you can possibly be in life. And to help you change your habits one step at a time, so that you can ultimately aspire to reach your dreams. What about physical augmentation? We are becoming faster, stronger, and taking flight. How we look, the use of cosmetics and makeup is profound because we as humans are trying to use those things to control our self-image and our perception from others. Now, what if you could instantaneously change the way you look immediately? In the digital world, Snapchat filters is converting your selfies into memes. In the physical world, plastic surgery is changing our faces, our bodies, and even our height. By the way, Barbie is getting a divorce from Ken. Apparently Ken looks too human. I wonder who's going to get the Malibu dream house. So a few years back, New York Times did a story on growth clinics and how they were using these growth hormones to help average kids grow taller. Now, these growth hormones were originally intended for extremely short children who had growth hormone deficiency. But some parents are using this to give their kids an unfair height advantage. Apparently, my parents didn't give me that. Speaking of parents, I never knew my biological father, but apparently he was as tall as Manute Bol. And it was so tall that his head would touch the ceiling of the bus. Now, of course, this used to make me quite proud, and I was quite impressed by this, until I went to South Korea and I realized that buses are about this short. What about our brain? Can we become smarter? How can we cognitively be supercharged? You may not like to hear this, but what if our brains become internet-enabled? Your cerebrum becomes internet-enabled so that it can have direct access to the internet to retrieve infinite knowledge repository instantaneously. Kind of scary, but kind of cool. Can you imagine all those years of memorization that you could have just forgo because you would have instant access to Google in your brain? Mind-boggling and scary. What if I told you that we could read your mind? Sound crazy? Freer Logic's EEG and EDP, electrodermal potential, is able to read and monitor your brain activity without actually having a device on you. Their next generation device will be able to measure brain activity remotely. No headsets, no armbands, no wristbands. It means that there's a potential to now measure brain activity at an airport in terms of security for potential harm. Or in a retail store context, be able to measure the cognitive load to assess your customer's interest. Or in a car, be able to measure the cognitive focus of the driver. Incredible. So where is all this going? And how is this helping to evolve the human species? If we can change our physical bodies, our intelligence, our strength, and even our self-awareness, are we potentially redefining what it means to be human? Every element of our human senses, to every organ, including our brain, our muscle, our skeleton, has the potential to be enhanced. We will become superhuman.
May I have your attention, please? May I have your attention, please? A fire has been reported in the building. A fire has been reported in the building. Please proceed to the stairways and exit the building. Do not use the elevators.
So you know when a presentation is good when it starts and ignites fire. I love it. Just to wrap this up before we all burn and die.
May I have your attention, please? May I have your attention, please? The Convention Center and Security Department have investigated the alarm and started installed. Please proceed with business as usual. We apologize for the inconvenience. May I have your attention, please? May I have your attention, please? We have investigated the alarm and have declared it as a false alarm. Please proceed with business as usual. We apologize for the inconvenience and thank you for your cooperation.
All right, so I'll leave you with this thought, and you just save yourself 10 minutes.
May I have your attention, please? May I have your attention, please? A fire has been reported in the building.
Transhumanism has the potential to evolve us beyond our current limitations of human condition. And one of the core theses of transhumanism is that we will eventually evolve in such a way that our abilities will be greatly expanded beyond our possibilities. And that, as a result, we will literally become different species entirely.
May I have your attention, please? May I have your attention, please? A fire has been reported in the building. A fire has been reported in the building. Please proceed to the stair.
So, by the way, I've spoken at about 40 conferences around the world, and this is my first fire alarm, and I'm actually pretty excited about it. It makes it a little bit different, so I'm okay with that. So, on the last note, and I've been completely interrupted, but that's okay. The momentum is still here. Is that the question isn't who will we be when we grow up, but rather what will we become when we evolve? All right, thank you, and be safe and don't burn out.